where we're from.
The Bible.
The 12 tribes of Israel. In 721 BC, the Assyrian king, he took us down, we fell. With a great escape we went through the Euphrates. The Lord held the water still. To a land where no mankind dwelt, we went. The 12 tribes of Israel. That's who we be, we be. Manasseh, the Cubans, Ephraim from Puerto Rico, Naphtali from the Isles of Hawaii. The Lord is calling back Israel. Zebulon from Panama, Gad, the North American Indians, Simeon, the Dominicans. The highest gathering Israel. The Arabs and Africans told us at gunpoint, together our wives and children they sold us. In the belly of these great ships we traveled in fear. By the rivers of Babylon we found our brothers here. A highest gatherer in Colombia, Reuben from Australia, Issachar, the Mexicans, from the far on high, the Negroes, Benjamin, the West Indians, Levi, the Haitians,
Calling back Israel.
highest gathering in Israel. Colombia, Reuben from Australia, Issachar, the Mexicans. That's who we be, we be. Judah, the Negroes, Benjamin, the West Indians, Levi, the Haitians, Manasseh, the Cubans, Ephraim from Puerto Rico, Naphtali from the Isles of Hawaii. The Lord is calling back Israel.
Calling us back.
From Panama, Gad, the North American Indians, Simeon, the Dominicans, our highest gathering Israel.
That's right. The Most High's gathering Israel. I'm Elder Ricard Shiar of the Gathering of Christ Church, here with our weekly update before segueing into Patreon. That's right. There's so much I would like to talk about today. Unfortunately, a lot I can't say here on these particular platforms with a lot of new rules that comes, through YouTube now, and to a degree where you don't know what to say, how to say it. Some people might see me midstream through making a point, cut things off, not understanding, what to say on a daily basis when it comes to this platform without being censored. All right. So first and foremost, there's a lot I would like to say, but thank the Most High for Patreon, who allow us, some freedom of speech. Well, the amount that's left in the earth today with us going into total tyranny and censorship, leading to utter eradication or destruction, eradication of any level of morality left within the earth. Okay. And of course, I really have to, in a moment, give my take on this, on the passing of our brother, Kevin Samuels, and my condolences go out to him and his family. And of course, I'm going to talk about that a little bit before segueing. But and we're going to have a Patreon conversation. We can all call in and all that. But before I segue, I'm going to definitely go into that. But our broadcast today, okay, on Patreon, we'll be discussing the exact title you see before you, okay? Is this why they took prayer out of school? We're going to discuss the importance of a moral standard that once stood within our families, within our nations and traditions. There were moral standards at one point. And it was also foretold since the inception of America what would happen if the belief in God was taken away, okay, from the forefronts, from the forefront of our lives, as far as in making decisions, not having a moral code, and what would happen if they began to erode at those standards within our educational system. So I'm going to highlight that today. We're going to talk about the world we live in now? Is this the reason why they took prayer out of school? And we're going to discuss the power of believing in God and how really that's really the only resistance left. All right. And the Bible teaches us, train up a child the way he should go, or she, your children, and when they are of age, they shall not depart from it. Okay. Instilling a conscience in children that will create or make the man or woman they'll be. Whether these people, these young people, these small people will become what? That's right. An asset, a positive for the generation to come, or a negative. It all starts, that's right, at the child level. And this is why when I see things like this, thank you, Rapa, for sending this to me. It places a great smile on my face every time I witness phenomenons in our children like this. Listen to this child sing.
Flow like the river. Flow like the river. All right, go on. We flow like the river, and blessings fall like the rain. Streams of your compassion, the valley from above, the valley of your peace. If they qualify love, let us sit with no sin. I'm not drifting, drifting. I need you. A higher, you sing all higher, in the great I am a higher, yes, yes, I can, a higher, Yeshua is the Savior of the world, Yeshua, and I believe, Yeshua, for our people, deliver me, I need you.
I need you, a higher. That's right. That's right. I need you. A young child. A young child speaking the true name of the Almighty at the very end of this age, of this empire's age. Our children. Speaking a name that has been what? Almost eradicated, moved out of most text. Purposely by the enemy. Knowing the true name of his Savior. And that's a testament to this young man's parents. Right? Is this why they took prayer out of school? Because they understood that the morality on how a child would actually constructively become an asset or benefit standing for God? Could it be that they feared that young child turning into a man who would grow of age to oppose the wickedness and the evil in this current doest thou wilt society? Could that be? But we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that and more on the Patreon side of things. Is this why they took prayer out of school? What are they afraid of? You know what they are afraid of? Christ taught us, suffer the children to come unto us. Come unto me. Unless you be like one of these children, you shall no wise enter into the kingdom of heaven. Through the mouth of babes, I will speak to my people. Living in a generation now where the progressive Satanist, you can call them Democrats or whatever you would like, are targeting our children to initiate them, that's right, to believe that it's okay to live and operate on the wrong side of God. That's right. They are recruiting children at an early age. And we need to talk about, is that the reason? Is that the reason they took prayer out of school? All you people out there who was claiming the Bible was tampered with, there's other religions there's alternative religions out there. The Bible isn't the absolute truth. Well, look at the world that has been created. The world that we're living in now, since the majority of people walked away from that book, where there's no moral standard. Living in a society that's gone to hell and that no one can speak up in fear of being called what? Judgmental. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about that today and more on Patreon. But before I segue over there, before I segue to Patreon, I would be at a miss if I didn't talk today about our brother, Kevin Samuel. Okay, obviously the Most High took him. He's on his journey, and I pray that the Most High preserve and keep his spirit, and if it be under his grace, to have it where this brother, if it be in the Most High's grace, to have it to where this brother makes it to the side of the bosom of Abraham. I pray for him and I pray for his family who's suffering today. Who's suffering. But there's a lot we can learn even through this transition from quote unquote Kevin Samuels. It tells us a lot about ourselves, right? The conversations that have been had for the last few years. The taboo conversations that the majority of us couldn't talk about. The ill effects of the curse and how we view one another. Men, women, black men and women in particular. How we think of things and think about things, but don't say it in fear of what? Backlash from the mainstream demoralized world. But he was willing to put himself out on the line and talk about the things that were important. Family, sacrifice, dedication, and consequences for the choices we make in our youth. Now, a lot of people out there would view what the brothers were stating and bringing forth totally negative, because it was more so focusing on the provocative conversations that blew his page up to what? Up to the over 1.4 million. But this is what I want you brothers to understand real quick. what we can learn, what we need to look at before we transition there. It'll be interesting to see how many people begin to dance on this brother's grave. It would be very interesting to see how many people look at this and dance on his grave and out there claiming he's a misogynist and I'm glad he's dead. Be careful when you hear this. Be careful when you hear the petty who will hang on every negative reason for his death and search for negative reasons because they simply didn't like him. Because guess what? If they'll do it to him, they'll do it to you. And I'm not saying this brother was a saint. But what I'm saying is the constructive conversations that were had from it, holding people accountable, men and women. A lot of people don't know that he was speaking to men 3 years before it segued over to him speaking to women. Right? So the whole thing is whether you disagree or agree with his provocative approach, the conversations were being had so that either side cannot no longer live in delusion. And I wanted to put that out there. So watch those who would dance on his death. Very dangerous people. Now everybody's going to come out from the woodwork, know who these people are, and mark them. Because they don't have enough class. They don't have enough tact, class, and care to know how to actually react when a soul is lost, knowing that there's family out there who cared for a person. Watch them. These were the dangerous people, to a lot of degree, Kevin Samuels were highlighting. That's first and foremost. I would like to say this too. What will some men remember? Right? From their view of it. They would probably remember someone like their uncle suggesting that men should raise their standards and never settle for anything less than what you've worked for. You should raise your don't let anyone tell you should just settle for anything. Okay? And that's one thing that a lot of men or young men never understood, that sisters understood a long time ago. That you can't settle for anything and you must have a standard. And don't let nobody shame you into having a standard. In a world that's trying to take all standards and morality away. Okay? The conversations were being had where it's holding people to a higher class. Like we once were as a people. Okay? So I can respect that. The provocative, the bringing out things that could be perceived as shaming and all these other things. And I'm sure women will have their own opinion of it, because why? Some of what he was highlighting was actually a majority of what's going on in our community. The boisterous, all the other things that he was pointing out. Like, listen, it's going to have to be some order, submission. We're going to have to go back to the original roles according to the Almighty, and not let any. And he brought that out too. that men belong to God. And I've spoken this, I've said this years ago before I've ever seen the brother. That men belong to God and women belongs to us. The children belong to the women. That's not divisive, that's order. And look at the world that has been produced since we've walked away from that order. So you're going to hear all types of things out there. Misogyny, you're going to hear, guess what? And if you hear anything negative about this brother, because don't forget, he's not the only one that's under attack and was under attack. It's men standing up with a voice. It's masculinity that has always been under attack. Right? So if you hear something negative, remember when Dave Chappelle, he was tackled the other day on a stage because he's willing to speak out and put himself on the line. And 9 times out of 10, the people that he been highlighting as the enemy against society in his last broadcast on Netflix, I wouldn't be surprised if they are attached to him being tackled on the stage the other day with a guy who had a weapon, crazed out of his mind. Who knows, this guy could have came from a psych ward or anything that was sent to tackle or destroy a voice of reason in this earth. So if you hear something negative about Kevin Samuels, right? Remember when Dave Chappelle said this, the guy who was tackled a few days ago. Remember this. Remember this.
Don't you think it was like a little suspicious? It's a little suspicious. Every dead black person the police find has crack sprinkled on them. I mean, come on, man. Come on, man. Who gets shot and sprinkles crack on themselves? Nobody would do that. Bam!
Oh, when they die, the convenient answer to this is that drugs are involved. Watch it. We heard that with DMX. And you're going to hear that again. But what they're not going to tell you, the effects of some of the stuff that people have been getting, is what? A diagnosis of, let me put it up here. Let me put it here. What they're not going to tell you is the diagnosis called myocarditis. What is myocarditis? What is myocarditis? Well, these are effects that they're not telling you about. I'm just going to show it on your screen real quick in case you didn't know. I'm going to put it out there since everyone else is putting out their options of what could have happened. Symptoms include chest pain, palpitations, the feeling of one's heart beating very fast, and shortness of breath. If your child develops any of these symptoms after receiving it, please contact your pediatrician and seek medical care. That's right. Myocarditis is an effect that comes with the stuff where it develops a small, really erosion in the tissue near the heart. Now, could there be some connection between what's been happening in the last few years and what the media has been putting out there and the many people now who are just falling out from cardiac arrest? Who knows? I don't know. But it's curious that Dave Chappelle, almost like a prophet, put it out there and said that if anything happened to me, know that I don't do crack, I don't do cocaine. Because all of these mysterious deaths that go down, at the end of it, they conveniently go away by publications putting out there that what the death was drug related. And those that are willing to dance on people's graves, they're going to come right with it. and say, you know what? I knew something was wrong with them. I knew this. I knew that. To try to what? To try to change the conversation. To try to discredit. To try to discredit, brothers and sisters, someone who provoked the conversations that were needed for us to have. Yep. There you go.
Don't you think it was like a little suspicious? It's a little suspicious. Every dead black person the police find has crack sprinkled on them. I mean, come on, man. Come on, man. Who gets shot and sprinkles crack on themselves? Nobody would do that. Bam! Oh!
That. So I'm just putting it out there, brothers and sisters. Why? And I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to segue to what I have to talk about eventually. Right? It's not about whether you're for or against something. Things aren't just that black and white or just that simple. They aren't. See, but it tell you in Hebrews 9, and it's talking about those who've left a testament. Now, primarily, it's talking about Christ. How they believe that because for killing him, that it would destroy the idea Christ would bring into this earth that would lead to the gathering of our people. Now, of course, Kevin Samuels isn't on that level at all. But all in all, it does the absolute reverse. When someone no longer exists, it magnifies and it makes what they have actually contributed in this earth, whether it be famous or infamous, it makes it of higher value. No pun intended. That's right. The idea now will only magnify. For a testament is a force, Hebrews 9:17. For a testament is a force after men are dead. Otherwise, it is of no strength at all while the testator liveth. Let me repeat that again. Hebrews 9:17. For a testament is a force after men. Excuse me. Hold on. Excuse me. The font is a little small. Let me blow this up. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. Let me read it. Yeah, here it is. Hebrews 9:17 reads, for a testament is a force after men are dead. Otherwise, it is of no strength at all while the testator liveth. That's right. So a lot of what he said that was positive will be magnified. That our people, men and women, that's right, we must raise our standard to understand what we represent and what our forefathers stood for. And that if we're going to make commitments, we ought to be beholden to them. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. We are beholden to our relationships to strengthen our community, and we point out the destructive natures, the destructive scenarios, the liberal buffoonery. Okay, outright. That have had all other people look and view us as less than. We ought to point it out. And that's what he was talking about. And you know what? he caught a lot of backlash for it, because you're not supposed to tell people when they're bringing all of us down. You're not supposed to say it. You know you can't talk about weight. You know you can't say this. You know you can't say that. But yet look at us being degraded all the way down. It's not just about the weight. It's not about the things he pointed out. It's about what care we have for ourselves personally that we expect, or less than care that we have, that we expect others to accept. Knowing that there's faults that we can correct outside of God. Not expecting God to fix everything. So I just wanted to put that out there real quick. I do give my condolences, to the family of brother Kevin Samuels. That's right. You will be missed, but not forgotten. Okay? And I'm going to tell you that right now. As a brother, you will be missed, but not forgotten, because many people are going to wake up and see some of the things you've put out there and say, you know what? It's time for me to raise my standard. And the standard is what? The standard of morality God have left us through this word. And men, I'm going to say brothers, first and foremost, you can't accept anything less than what you've worked for. Put something in place with the law, statutes, and commandments coming first. And have a standard. And with that standard, it doesn't matter what anyone might say about your standard. They can say that all these things, well, you're judgmental, you're this, that, and the other. No. Brothers, have a standard by getting yourself together with the Almighty, and then you can hold women and family to those standards and teach those standards. And I believe, all in all, that's what this brother was trying to convey through his own provocative way. That men in this world, especially through the Willie Lynch scenarios and syndrome, we have made ourselves okay to accept anything. We've lowered the bar of what a man should expect. Okay? So it's okay. It's okay for sisters to have a standard. It's okay for them to have a bucket list of what they'll accept. That's fine. Now, whether or not they get the outcome, that's another thing. But guess what? Same with men. But eventually, we both have to have that bucket list, an expectation of us that's been given to us by our God. The Most High, man, women, children. And we're not to embarrass or shame someone for being less than. We ought to help each other achieve that standard. We ought to help each other achieve that standard, not shame each other. Right? So I wanted to put that out there. Rest in peace. Watch people who would begin to dance on his grave and think they're thanking God for seeking vengeance for them. Watch that behavior, because this is what they were doing when the great men who have made a mark in this earth, black men, this is what they've done to discredit the works of a testator. See? All through time, if you've made a mark and you're fighting to bring back that kingship that came with Judah, when you're out When it's our people, they're going to find something negative to discredit your whole life's work that was actually doing what? Moving our people more so towards the right side of living. They want us to fall. So you have to discredit it and be like, well, okay, nothing matters now. Everything he said was of no consequence, and it had no effect because he's discredited. And they try to do that with all the great men. Martin Luther King. They want to discredit and talk about his running around and what he was doing because why? They really didn't want people to respect a high intellectual who understood the negatives of the demonic Democrats and the liberal working with the Republicans on either side to oppress and keep our people down. And above all, they called Christ what? A sorcerer. See? All the good things he did, they claim he did it in the name of Satan. So watch out, brothers and sisters, and understand, keep your ears open to those who are now going to come from out of the shadows and disrespect this man's family who's mourning right now. And you're going to understand that, you know what? If they did it to him, they'll do it to you. And these are the dysfunctions we must do what? Stomp out amongst us. I even see people from the letter people saying negative things, calling him a misogynist and all that. What is your interest in this man? And his conversations he's having about our people. When you're of a different persuasion. The interest is what? They revel in the destruction of our families. And they don't want no man out there pointing out what's wrong because they recruit from the dysfunctional. That's why. They recruit amongst the dysfunctional. They want separated families so they can have access to the children. But I digress. Whether you love him or hate him, the brother's passed on. Give his family the due respect to mourn without degrading him or listening to any other rumor that's out there that's looking to discredit his work. Okay? Let me put that out there. All right. With that, someone says, and see, this is the simplicity that's out there with some people. The man was no angel. Stick to the Most High. The Most High sent all of us, even you in the comment section. He also sent Kevin Samuels. See, but if you stay for a couple of minutes to understand and how I preface this, it was about the conversations that amongst our people that were not being had, which were destroying us. And if he was used for that, then that's good enough. Maybe the Most High had him in the earth for that moment to do that. I am speaking about the Most High. Okay? When I'm talking about things you can agree with, that isn't, within the theological side of our program, it's applauded. See? It's applauded. So listen, I understand what you're saying. I do stick with the Most High. You don't have to tell me to stick with the Most High. We were sent to do the work in this earth, to exalt him. But we can also speak on things that relates indirectly to our message, to the message the Most High have given us. A standard. And people hate him because he was doing what? He was highlighting a standard that we should behold ourselves to. Be a people with class. Is that not of the Most High? Now, the provocative parts of him, I don't agree with everything he's said, of course. I don't agree with everything. But no one agrees with everything someone says. But don't allow the media and others to bring forth something negative and dance on this brother's grave, because guess what? That's evil. That's wicked. And if he have done anything wrong, okay, guess what, folks? Now he's before the judge. That's between him and the Most High, right? That's between him and the Most High. But while you're out there, let's highlight, and this is what I wanted to bring out. You probably missed this part. Being rash. Let's talk about the symptoms of myocarditis. Myocarditis is an inflammation of the heart, which in a lot of instances could be connected to some of the stuff people have been receiving. So everyone is going to be talking about everything else. But we need to ask ourselves, okay, did he get the stuff? Did he get the jab or whatever? We have to talk about that. And could that have been an effect? How long ago did he get one? Who knows? But that's what I would like to focus on, because I said years ago. I said it when this campaign first happened, brothers and sisters. When the campaign first happened, brothers and sisters, I stated that the world is going to look a lot different in the next few years. We're going to see a lot of unexpected passings. And no one is going to, and no one out there are going to relate it to the choices they made during the flu scare. I said it. So these are the things we need to focus on, right? And understand, because, hey, they can easily say out there that it was cocaine or whatever, cardiac arrest through cocaine, like they said DMX, who actually went and got the stuff so that he could do what? Tour. And right after he got the stuff, conveniently he passed. Now, whether that had anything to do with it, who knows? But no one investigated that. There was no investigation to say, well, could it have come through his choice under the experiment? Okay, so I said it years ago. The world's going to look a lot different, and a lot of people we love are going to, due to the choice, there's going to be a lot of convenient heart attacks out there, and then they're even publicizing out there. Don't be surprised if children start falling with heart attacks, coincidentally. Okay, so I'm putting this out there to say, listen, do not deal or fall for the media spin, because what they're trying to do is take away the voice of any black man. With what? With a stance. With any level of power or influence against their liberal, do as thou wilt society. There's nothing positive they're going to say about him. But I'll tell you who's been ever more destructive than Kevin Samuels could have ever been. Oprah Winfrey. And if she's ever, may the Most High preserve her and change her, and no one wished death on anyone, but if she ever pass over, they would highlight her as a saint up there with Mother Teresa. Okay, so with that, I'm at 2:00. It's time for Patreon. It is time for Patreon. Okay. Now, before I go in, let me tell you that's right. We are now in open enrollment season for the Hebrew and Bible Academy beginning May 22nd. Okay, we're now in open enrollment week. We have a few weeks beforehand, and May 22nd, you don't want to miss it. All right, we'll be going into portals. We on another level, the heavenly realm. We're going to be talking about that in the creation of the universe. The power within the Ark of the Covenant to show how the Ark of the Covenant was actually used as a mobile weapon and how the Most High will allow us to utilize that again in the wilderness. We're going to talk about that. When I say mobile, it was movable. Not on wheels, but it was moved around in an instance like a car and sat down. Okay, it was moved around, and then the Most High would cut loose. And I'm going to talk about how the connection the Ark of the Covenant has with our people getting delivered throughout the four corners of the earth. I'm going to talk about that in the academy. And we have new lessons never taught. Okay, never taught in any academy. That's right. We're actually going to be going into it. This academy, knowing that the time is near. All right. We're going to also be highlighting some serious news like the news we have right here today. German Interior Minister and citizens should start hoarding emergency supplies. We're going to be talking about this, folks, because what? Germany has begun to warn all the people. Here's the politicians, folks. Have began to do what? Warn their citizens. And they should start hoarding emergency supplies. This just came in. That the German government outright is telling their citizens it's high priority. It's a turning point right now. They know something is coming that will lead to what? A lack of bread, food. Now, any two times you tell your citizens to start hoarding emergency supplies, there's something the politicians have been discussing. All right. Being in the know concerning what? What's to come. Okay. So if they, if they're talking about this in Germany, that's right. Soon they'll be saying the same thing in the United States. And even Joe Biden came out and said that we must prepare for a food shortage. Next time you go to your supermarket, put down your phone for a second and all that and look around at the supermarket. Because a lot of us, for distractions, we just keep on texting and all that and ignore and through that ignore what's evident before our eyes. A famine is coming. And we're in the preparation for it, brothers and sisters. Yes, we are. You can't talk about the Bible and deal with the Bible and don't prepare according to its prophecies, understanding the times. So yes, yes, right. We believe in the Bible literally. Okay, so that and more will be discussed in the academy. The news articles are non-like any other place in the earth. You can't find news anywhere like what's divulged in the Hebrew and Bible Academy. You can't. Okay, that's first and foremost. It's not like any other reporting. That's first and foremost. Another thing is, and I know the brother was saying, well, why can't we just put stuff on the YouTube page and all that were pre-recorded? Well, we can't, because the majority of things that we say could compromise the rules of these new platforms that have been taken over by Google. Okay, so what he's saying is put the stuff out there that we can only do in private, so that what? So that there's no page at all, where not only can we not bring you the academy content, we won't be able to bring you the weekly content like this, like Sabbath, like Wednesday, ever. So what he's asking for is unattainable. Why can't you just put the stuff out there? Huh? Why can't you just even afterwards they pay? Why don't you put it out there? Because the platforms will shut down everything. They're not going to parse and say, well, that was Academy stuff. Let me just cut that out. They'll take the whole thing away. And then what you have, then what the people have. And see, that's what the devil wants. The devil wants the word stopped. And that's the simplicity of some of our people who don't realize what it takes to organize something, what it takes to staff something, how much it costs to staff something as complex as getting all these people in the academy and making sure they're satisfied with what they came for. It takes people, work, manpower, study, sacrifice. So some simple mind can sit and look back and say, why can't that be free? Because he don't know what it is to build anything. That's why he thinks like that. Well, will Christ do that? Well, let me put this out there. Christ went to the treasury and asked the disciples. All these rich people put money in the treasury, and the woman put in 2 pence. And the woman put in 2 pence. Who put in more? And the disciples looked at Christ and said, oh, well, the guy who put in the bag of gold, all that money. He's like, no, the woman who put in 2 pence, because what? That's all she had. You can't talk about building anything without a treasury, young man. So when you think about Christ and finances, you have to look at that. And the other thing is, and I'm going to say this. Do you know that the academy for 3 months only averages, if you were to pay for the academy, $1.67 per day for 3 months? If you average it out per day for the 3 months you're in, you've spent $1.67 per day, less than the 2 pence that was put in at Christ's treasury. Now, the sacrifice and work to put all this together and to staff those who would have to process all of this information and the platform we have to pay for, along with the equipment that it takes to actually broadcast and the time it takes to get up early in the morning and be there for the people. Do you think it's worth $1.67 a day for 3 months? And I put this out there for that young man who's just, because I feel for him, because he don't understand that it takes finances to prepare. I need y'all to think about that. And they do the numbers and they look at all the numbers and all this money. When it breaks down, it's $1.67 a day, and we never went up on price. Now, how many of you throw away money on just nothing of no value? And it averages out in 3 months, $1.67 per day. And we never went up on price, even though it costs us more to broadcast for the academy. So I wanted to put that out there. All right. So, and he even admitted the other night that, hey, the academy is very valuable. Man, this deep knowledge, man. Why don't you just put it out there for everybody? Da 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 da. So he was actually highlighting how valuable the academy, the academies are, the broadcasts are, and they are. But guess what? Where your treasures are, your heart shall be also. If you believe that what this is doing is helping your life and is pointing you in the right direction when it comes to the Almighty, and that and that you appreciate the sacrifice that comes with those broadcasts and the tedious work that are put in, the countless hours when it comes to studies and actually put that stuff, don't reappear, those PDFs. They don't reappear out of the ether, okay? Think about it, folks. A lot of hard work and constructive. Then you have to proofread things. It's school. So I wanted to put it out there, all right? I just wanted to put that out there. That I would really appreciate it if you all join it, because you want to be in the know when it comes to this news, especially Elder Lawyer. He recalibrated the Hebrew, so it's on an entirely level than it was when we first began. And on top of that, the lessons are groundbreaking. They're groundbreaking. So not only are you learning, you'll be able to apply what you're learning into real time, real life. Your real life scenarios, you'll be able to apply these lessons to help with life in of itself. Okay? And look at some of the buffoonery we used to do and the clowning we once did under the Christian church. With no book open at all. We're the only people that were going to learn anything outside out within the congregation, where your deacons and your elders and your bishops going to theologian schools to bring that garbage doctrine into our communities. Right? We are the children of Israel, and we're back. All right? With that, I'm going to say shalom. I love you, brothers and sisters. You have a great Sabbath. And that's right. We will see you. We will see you on the other side with phone calls opened. The phone lines open. We're going straight there to, well, the phone lines open in 19 minutes. Whatever you would like to talk about, the church is open for. 515-605-9327. But I'm going straight over into Patreon to talk this lesson. Is this why they took prayer out of school? That will be the topic today, to really focus on our parents doing due diligence to understand the enemy has been focusing on our offspring to turn them. Okay? And at the time that we're not putting into our family, into our young ones, they're willing to spend that time to turn those children against you. And I'm going to be talking about that more on Patreon. And again, a lot of information cannot be out here on these platforms because it's to a degree we don't know what we can say and still keep our pages. Okay? To communicate to the masses. We don't know because they move the bar on the guidelines on a regular basis without letting us know in particular, as content creators, they won't even let us know what in particular violates rules. It's ambiguous. A lot of things are arbitrary. We don't know. So that's why we have these other platforms, the Academy, Patreon, because it allows us to freely speak. And sometimes people think that, Elder Ricard, man, what's wrong? It seems like he's not direct. It seems like his speech isn't the same. Sometimes I have to actually think about what I'm going to say midstream. Okay? To know whether or not it's appropriate under these new guidelines that that are arbitrary. So that's why. But I'm glad on these other, you can tell you in the Academy, it's like this. Let's go. I don't have to censor. I can call a spade a spade. I don't got to worry about the anti this and anti that and homo this and homophobic. And I don't have to worry about any of that. And I can speak freely as the Most High intended on these other platforms. Okay. So I just want to put that out there. So, all right. So, brothers and sisters, that concludes our weekly update for Patreon. I hope to see you there. Thank you, Elder Dell, for typing the Patreon link there. I really appreciate that, Elder Dell. Patreon /A Gathering 144. Patreon / A Gathering 144. Let's talk today, folks. Let's talk today. Patreon /A Gathering 144. Thank you. All right. I'll see you all there. And I hope to see you all in the academy in a few weeks. May the Most High be with you. Stay prayed up. Let's go. That's right. Let's go. I'm excited about our discussion today. And I'm even more excited to actually speak to all of you through our phone calls. An extra day to have some interaction through the calls. I love the blog talk calls. I mean, not only that, a lot of brothers and sisters, when you bring forth information of what's going on, that's confirming a lot of what the Most High have shown us. And it lets us know that you're on the job in your respective areas in the world, okay? So, let's go. And I see you a few weeks in the academy. Go to historytimes.org to enroll. I'll see you on the other side, Patreon, all right? Love you, brothers and sisters. Have a blessed Sabbath if you aren't on Patreon. Shalom. The Bible. Is it hard to understand?
When it comes to reading the Bible, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that this is the Word of God.
The seals have been broken, and the truth is here.
And when we go throughout the scriptures, when we go throughout extra biblical records, we find that the language that God employed, that He used to create the heavens and the earth, was the Hebrew language.
Christ said, I came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. But yet no one, no religious leader, no religious church out there anywhere can now identify the 12 tribes of Israel. Can we? God is quite simple, but it seems as if man makes understanding Him hard.
What are those mysteries?
The truth of your book and the truth will make you free. The Hebrew and Bible Academy. You're invited.